we got a couple guests lined up. We have one guest who's actually returning, our first guest, who's going to be calling in about 10 minutes. Loren W. I hope I say this right. I always look at and think I'm saying it wrong, but Lepre. Movie maker from the Philadelphia area. He made this movie called The Dark Military, which when it came out, he came on and we were promoting it and talked all about it. Well, now it's available on Amazon Prime, which is freaking huge. So, and I got a chance to watch it earlier today. So we'll get to talk to him about the movie, and if he's listening right now, he's going to be surprised, I guess, or maybe to know that I actually watched it. So it's really cool. I can't wait to talk to him about it. And then
I'm glad one of us did. Because I forgot. I'm going to be honest.
And then after Loren, we're going to be talking to a little family reunion going on. We have I ran into a couple weeks ago my old Dudley brother, Mr. D-Von Dudley at Wizard World Philly.
So how you guys doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Good, man, dude. You know what? I'm really excited not only to talk to you again, but I'm excited for you. So I actually sat and watched the movie today.
Uh-huh.
I'm impressed, dude.
And insert drum roll, yes.
No, seriously, honest to God, I'm really freaking impressed. Last time we talked, I had only seen the trailer and all, and I was digging it, but even 2-3 minutes in, I'm saying to myself, this thing's pretty freaking shot really well. Thank
you so much.
Deal. Yeah, dude, this is real deal film. This isn't a lot of these independent films you see are really kind of made in somebody's bedroom, and you can tell.
You're right. It's all about quality, and I was in the business a good 5 years at that time, and I didn't want to just make a film where it's got no shot in getting any film festivals. I just didn't want to make something with a lot of the problems with a lot of indie filmmakers is they just grab a camera and they shoot something, but they don't light the room. They're not using proper audio, and I mean, listen, lighting and audio, I mean, in your camera, I mean, it just makes the film. The actors cannot look good or shine in any way, shape, or form without all that. You have to have it if you're going to try to make an impact in the world.
Right,
so we shot on the red cam, and red cam, there's a few styles of red cam, but that's the same style of camera they shoot Transformers on or anything else. So, I mean, you got to go all out, but I mean, you got to build a resume, you got to have money. That's what it always comes down to, production value,
Well, that's something too. Because as we were watching it, my wife was actually sitting there in and off watching it with me, and she was I guess she was reading maybe the IMDb page or something. She's like, "How the hell did he get all the funding to do this? Because this came off really good." I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember. Did you do a Kickstarter or anything, or?
I did nothing. Everything was pure heart, pure. So basically, what I call it is you got to use your network to your advantage. So I mean, if there's any filmmakers out there listening here, and you have an idea for a film, and you want to have the entire city of New York or the entire city of Philadelphia destroyed, you're not going to have the money for the effects for that. But if you have an uncle that is a fireman, maybe you can, get access to the fire hall or the police station, or you got to go within your network, within your reach. Don't be trying to because everything that money-wise you could save, if you have your parents a school teacher, maybe you could get access to a school. I mean, same thing with wrestling. Hey, hey, do you have you want to make a movie about wrestling? Okay, well, I'm just using that because obviously, through Bay here and D-Von coming up next. But yeah, you have someone with a contact for a wrestling school. Maybe you could, you're going to get you could get access to that. But if you're just going to come out of pocket and say, hey, I'm going to make a movie about space, you've got a problem because I don't know if you have the money to pull it off and make it look good. So. When you're saying that, I had between a cast and crew, between all of it, there was about 100 people. And, you got to have the right locations. And most of all, you've got to pull every favor you possibly could. And I'm a guy who's done a lot of favors for a lot of those people. So you better believe I cashed in and some. They're like, all right, cool, I can do that for you for this price. Like, awesome. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to do that, and you're going to cut your price in half because you owe me, and I love you. You got to work it. You got to work it that way, you know. So, and you got to come through with your promises of like, hey, you know, as the leader of the ship, like, you got to do all that marketing. You know, you got to go out and get the interviews, and you know, our film's been reviewed over 40 times, and like, there's like 3 phases. You know, you got your pre-production, you obviously got the shoot itself, and at the end, you got to put so much into marketing because otherwise, who's going to see you? So you know, you got your trailers playing. Like, I'm about to buy time on YouTube. You know, skip this ad in 5 seconds. You always see a movie trailer.
Right.
You know, that's good. That's about to be us. You know, you're calling Fangoria magazine like, I want to buy time. And, you know, you've got to do everything. You know, luckily we fell into one of our cast members was on a TV show for the Fuse Network. So the Fuse Network followed him to our movie set with permission, obviously. I was going to take the free publicity, but, you know, that helped get our name out there a little more. And then, you know, you got R. Marcus Taylor, who was the head cop in the movie, you know, from coming straight out of Compton. So that was good. Then you got your phone callers with your cameos, you know, you Blue Meanie and, you know, Alex Vincent from Child's Play. I mean, you plug that all in, and then you got your independent music, you know, all the punk and hardcore bands and the rockabilly songs that you hear, you know, through the movie. You know, they have a following too. So you're trying to just pull everybody's fans together and try to make one giant ball and try to, you know, excel.
Do you literally sit down with like, literally probably like a notebook and almost kind of like try to map this stuff out?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like in the direction on each phase of this?
Yes, it is. And as marketing right now, like, I just look at like what I'm going to do week to week up till November 1st. The movie just came out on Amazon, and, you know, before I try to spread it out to Hulu and all the others, you know, Netflix is your ending goal because they're the #1 network in the world. But, you know, to get to Netflix is the hardest because they want to see all the traction. You don't have to say like, oh, here's my flick. Okay, cool, we'll take it. No, they're going to go through a QC check. They're going to go through. They want to know everything. So you got to send everything over. All the movie trailer hits. This podcast will go over like everything. Every little thing that snowballed this is you got to like have that ready and on deck. And, you know, they got to see it all. And there's still no guarantee you're going to get in. But the only thing good about any filmmaker trying to go to Netflix right now is, you know, Disney's making their own on-demand. If it didn't even come out already. If it did, I don't know about it. But, like, you know, everything they own is getting pulled off of Netflix. All the Star Wars films, all the Muppets, all the, you know, Marvel. So they need contact, you know, right now, you know, to fill that goal. So it's a good, you know, it's good for people like me in my situation right now. Right now, up to November 1st, I literally have a marketing plan. Like every Monday, you know, some sort of marketing. So AKA money out of my pocket. That's the point, you know, in hopes, because I did not sign with anybody. My own company, Average Superstar Films, is driving the whole ship. I turned down 44 distribution companies because they're just all bad deals. They're all bad deals. It's just like in the music industry, like nobody wins. Like if they're gonna, like, I could say it forever. Like I could tell you like how the Devil's Rejects cast got screwed out of that last film in 2003. They were all supposed to get $1 million. It was in their contract. Sig Hag, Rob Zombie's wife, and Bill Moseley. If the film made past $20 million, they were getting a $1 million incentive. And when it got to $19 million, Lionsgate Films pulled the movie out of the theater and rushed it to DVD, so they didn't have to pay that money to them. Because of the yeah. And I heard that direct from Sig Hag himself. You know, this isn't just something I read on the internet. You know, I don't ever pass anything off till I hear it right from the lion's mouth. So, I mean, you could go into music too. Like when Appetite for Destruction came out, Geffen Records withheld $6 million from Guns N' Roses from their management, and they said, "Yo, there's a discrepancy here." They're just like, "All right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to give you $2 million of that." They're like, "We're owed $6. Why would we take $2?" Well, if you lawyer up and go against us, this is what's going to cost you $4 more million. So you just better take this $2 million now. Like, it was like ridiculous. Like, if you even look, Jason Newston it got screwed out of the Metallica Black album, the royalty checks. Yeah, they certainly aren't going to do that to Kirk and Lars and James Hetfield. But since he left the band, they went and just looked at the contract and looked at one little sentence that, you know what, we could put that in the debate. Let's cut him off because they don't need them. Technically, they're not screwing the band over. If you think about it, he's out of the band, right?
Right.
He doesn't get his royalty checks right now. So what's he going to do, fight it? I mean, he could, but I mean, so I'm just saying, when you really look at, like, who I just named, the Devil's Rejects, Guns N' Roses, and Metallica, if they're getting screwed, they could screw me over, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. And what a lot of the blunt of why you turn down 44 film companies, you hate saying this in the world, you know, but I mean, this is how it is. They always try to put in these production companies like, hey, you know, you're going to end up paying the you know, all their expenses. And that's a tricky word there because they're like, well, what do you mean by expenses? Oh, the pressing of your film, the marketing of your film, and that's like, you don't get to see those receipts. They just tell you, like, oh, you're $10,000 in the hole, and after the first quarter, like, oh yeah, well technically, you know, yeah, you're in a hole, $7,000, you know. So, and you're like, well, can I see those receipts? No. And they know, like, you don't have the money to fight back, you know, with the lawyer fee. So I cannot tell you how many film companies tried to get my movie signed. And what the wisest thing to do if you're a filmmaker is, whoever company's trying to sign you, go to their film catalog, look up 5 of those film directors who they have signed, contact them through Facebook. Say, how did they treat you? And you'll be amazed on what, you know, all 5 of them say, not one dime. Terrible,
well, let me ask you
know?
this. I mean, how did you get so smart to this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have known this stuff.
Yeah, call it. I mean, I grew up in a little town outside of Scranton, so my parents were, like, always involved with, like, the school board and city council and all that. But, I mean, that's just a little town of, like, 15,000. But I just saw up there, like, how the dog world was just in a little town. And then, you know, you end up in the punk rock scene, so you're more cautious, you know, and just, I don't know. I had street smarts of just not taking someone at face value. Like, I just need to see evidence. So you just start hearing horror stories between music was first, because I've always been around music. And then when I got into film in 2012, I would just hear the terror of these stories. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to run my own ship, like, technically, I could have signed with any of those companies, and hey, my film could be, you know, in every Walmart. I mean, you know what? My Blu-ray's out everywhere too, but I mean, you could have it. I could be on every streaming outlet right now, and then when the quarter's up, like, I basically made a film, and at the end of the quarter, I get no money for it, and there's someone else getting money off of my art, and no one gets any money out of it. And it's like, you don't want to say like you're making film and music to make money, but I mean, come on, you know, you want the arts first, but you like to see yourself not lose.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose.
Absolutely.
So you're in a world today where look what I'm doing now. I'm on a podcast. Like, before, you know, you couldn't do this 20 years ago. You couldn't just get on a radio station or a talk show. Everybody could just pick up and you know, drive their own ship. You know, I do a show up at Princeton College like once a month with Aaron Bierman. You know, a live show. I mean, I value that, and, you know, I value what you guys do and everybody else. I mean, you could just reach an audience, and, you know, in the meantime, you know, the last 3 years, I'm going to all the horror movie conventions with a table. Like, here's free posters. Here's our sticker. Here's the trailer. Like, you're just giving out. You're meeting the fans, and you're hoping all now, you know, here comes your audience. Oh, cool. It's on Amazon. Cool. It's on iTunes. You know, and, you know, you got to be organic, and you just can't make a movie trailer and a Facebook page and expect that, like, you're going to take over the world. You just can't do that. Like, or so many people just do that. They're like, well, I'm not going to put my own money into it, and then they're disappointed when, like, no one hears about their film after 2 weeks.
Right.
You know, it's like you can't just tell like make a Facebook page and get 218 likes and a movie trailer on YouTube, and it's got like 1,000 hits, and you just think that you took over the world. You didn't. You got to push hard. You got to kick down every door you could. You know.
let me ask you this, because we always hear and you see like I meant to save it the other day, and I'm kicking myself. I didn't. I saw somebody had posted like the payouts from like Spotify and YouTube and all this stuff, all these like streaming services. What's it like for movies? You know what I mean? Like, what if you get like, I mean, you're on Amazon Prime, but it's still what if you were just on Netflix streaming or whatever? I mean, do they pay the same amount? You know what I mean? Is it still pennies on the dollar?
Yeah. Netflix pays you 9 cents for every 60 minutes your movie's screened. I think is what the numbers is right now. Yeah, think about that. You're giving it away for free, and like Amazon was doing that. Amazon, I mean, you could either have a rental fee, or you could give it away for free. And I think Amazon, if you give your movie away for free on Amazon, that anyone could just go to Prime and watch it for free. I think it's 6 cents at the moment. 6 cents for yeah. So I mean, filmmakers were complaining about that because they were making 15 cents before that, and they were like, "Oh my God, I gotta go." You know, I rely on this, and I'm like, small part of me is like, yeah, that sucks. They cut you. At the same time, like, how much? It's 15 cents, dude. Like, you better go get a job. Like, I don't know what you're thinking. How much money were you making? Like, I'm curious, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just terrible, man. Music and film is like that. People just get effed over like so bad. That's why bands tour so much, because at least they get that ticket money, and you know you're buying the $25 shirts is going right to them, like guaranteed. You know, so film is just a nightmare. Like I sit there, like my film could be on a torrent site right now. No one's told me yet, but I'm sure it might be there. But you know, to think about all the hard work I did, you know, and you know, someone could be downloading it for free. It's just like, good God, it makes you go crazy. But at the same time, you do want your film seen, but you just wish they'd do it the right way, you know?
All right, so
you know, go ahead.
When you got onto Amazon Prime, then, like, you were given the choice, or you instantly said, I want that rental fee?
You want the rental fee for why your movie's hot. Here's what goes with any film. That includes even when the Avengers comes out, the Almighty or something. Like, you got 1/4 of profit, and then you're going to drop. It is.
Right.
This is how it is. Like, my film, you know, I'm trying to make a trilogy out of it. I tried to introduce new characters to the horror movie genre, so we don't have to see Jamie Lee Curtis fight Michael Myers in diapers for the 5th time. Like, come on, please give us independent filmmakers. Like, you know, you got Terrifier out there, is another good one. You know, so I mean, there's a whole list of people out there of rising filmmakers, and you know, I can't stand when they're just rebooting stuff. But like, I understand why they do it. It's already a made product. And you don't got to put a film like mine, you have to put a lot more money in to reach a new audience, but it's beautiful when it happens, you know, it just is. Because it's fully me, and I'm going into business myself under my own company, Average Superstar Films. Like, I literally have like a dashboard where I could keep an eye on it every day. You see how your film's doing. So if there's a drop off in any way, I could be like, all right, well, you know, time to put some more money into it and see, you know, what I could generate. Or, you know, and you could also watch where you're marketing. Like, okay, I just dumped money into this. It didn't really do too good. Maybe I should, you know, go into re-up on the former ad that I did before that, because it seemed to have done better. So you kind of do a trial and error, you know, because this is all new to me, you know, at the same time.
Sure.
But at least I know it's going to all go through me and not a third party, because it's like, if you sign with a company, you know, if we just make up the 3 of us here just made a different film. If we sign with a company, we only get to talk to the company. We don't get to talk to Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. You don't. And where the money's getting lost, it's not Amazon and all them screwing us over. They just go strictly through the distribution companies, the middle ground people. That's where all the money is getting like eaten up by the warlords, basically. You know, so you got to cut them out. So that's what I did.
Now, what do you think is the best outlet of marketing right now?
Well, you could technically say YouTube and Facebook because there's just so many people on there. Like they're the largest where everybody goes. But I mean, at the same time, if you don't have a product that nobody gives a crap about, you're just done. You just don't. You got to get intrigued. And you know what? I mean, if it starts in a thread and you're starting to get trashed a little bit, let them trash it. Because at least it's some sort of marketing, you know. I mean, Christ, you could put a video up on YouTube of someone like rescuing kittens from a burning fire, and you'll see like 100K thumbs up, and you'll still see like 10,000 thumbs down. You're just like, who are these 10,000 people? Like, why don't they want to see these kittens get rescued? Like, there's just people out there that are gonna hate, and I mean, you can't let that stuff get to you, you know.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what could you not like here? Like, when you want to see the cats burn, are you sinister? Like, what? You know? So, yeah. So you gotta go in with tough skin too, and you have to listen to people, and you gotta have a good help desk around you. You just can't. You gotta align yourself with people who know a thing or two and have been around. You know, it's like, you know, like any good wrestling company too. Like the ones that survive have veterans and people that know the roots. You know,
Right.
Well, it's not a lot of what happens to most independent film, wrestling companies, they fold. I mean, it's just a hard thing to hold. It's hard to stay above water.
So when a situation happens and you're like given an opportunity for something or whatever, do you have somebody you turn around, like if you contemplate mode over yourself, is there somebody who you turn around and call and like, let me run this past you before I make a definite decision?
It also depends what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got like a Hollywood help desk. I don't mean by that. I don't mean like I know A-list actors on speed dial, but like, you got people that have ties to TV shows and stuff. And I'll be like, I got an idea here. This is what I'm trying to do. Here's my plan. What do you think? Am I on the right trail? And they might be like, yeah, you are. Or what the hell? What? That's how you want to do it? No. Here's how you need to do this. Or this is out of your league. Don't go here yet. Like, right. Might want to try to go down this route. So, you got to, it's the same thing like if I was to try to ever make a science fiction film or something like, I don't know all the frickin' spaceship shit. Like, I would have to hire somebody and just, put my full faith into them. Like, you got to do research, like nobody walks in. Steven Spielberg didn't walk in as Steven Spielberg. He didn't even realize like the tide and everything and waves and then the undercurrent like during Jaws until he started making Jaws, and then he can't get the shark to stand still because the water's moving. Like he didn't take that into account. You just got to get out there sometimes and learn, So you take the good with the bad, I mean, and you gotta, like a film like mine with all those cast members. We filmed 8 straight days. Like we just went in and knocked it like right out. And then about a year later, we did a wraparound with the terrorist tapes, basement scenes is what we would call them. We went back and filmed that. That was just an addition, like a year later, with new actors and stuff. Like I was just sitting there like, you know what? Because when you're putting a movie together, you get ideas. You know what? We should have did this. We should have did that. And then we're like, well, why don't we go do that? And we did. You just go back and so you got to do what's in reach, and and you cannot go in sloppy either. You never jeopardize your art. If you think something's gonna come out sloppy, do not film it.
Interesting. It came out really good. I mean it. Like I'm dead serious. I mean,
thank you. That means a lot. Like you want to hear that,
Yeah, I was really impressed because I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. But I mean, the actors and all. I mean, everybody like they came off very, very. You know what I mean? It was just very well done. I was like, holy
Thank you.
shit.
And I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I don't think there's really much boredom in there because I just think it's a fast-paced, moving film between everything that's going on. Between the prey, between the dark military members, and what's going on with the police station of them trying to find out where it is and stop it. I just think it moves fast, and I mean, between myself and Stephen Carino, my producer. I mean, we sat there and you would be editing, and that movie's 88 minutes, and sometimes I'd be at his editing office and you'd get 9 seconds done after 16 hours because you're between going through footage. Yeah, and I mean, he lives 20 miles away, by the way. So like I'd be driving up and driving back and like slamming my head off the steering wheel because like you're going mad, but like you just know in the back of your head like what we're doing is right. And what I mean by that, like why is it only 9 seconds? You might be trying to run a filter through some of the footage or some sort of an effect. And it's going to need like 5 hours while you're sitting at his house to see if it takes. And after 5 hours, the file didn't take. And you got to start it over again. You're just like, my entire Saturday is blown for this, like you're just, it sucks. Editing sucks. Sometimes you got a file that could be corrupt and you got to find a way to uncorrupt it if it's possible. I mean, there's a lot of stress with when you film something, like how is it going to come out? How's it going to project once you get it in the computer? There's just so much. That's why you always hear when people are like, oh, they went back and reshot stuff. It's great in an A-list movie and an A-list budget to do that.
Sure.
But when you're an independent, you can't really get your actors back a year later. And are they even going to look the same?
Right.
You know what I mean? Did someone cut their hair? Did they grow their hair long? Did they move? Do they hate you? Like you don't even, and they're not going to come back. Like you don't know. You just don't know.
Anybody in the film industry like reach out to you and say, hey, dude, this is like a really good freaking movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we heard that. I heard that a lot. I mean, I've heard that out of I don't want to start like name dropping and shit. But I mean, there's been some good like, holy crap, this person even heard about it. So it's beautiful. It's a awarding feeling to yourself, and good job by the cast and I mean, there's so many moving parts with a film. I mean, you're trying to keep your cast involved, and at the same time they're doing other projects and stuff. So like maybe their interest of the film they did years ago isn't as high, and you're trying to keep them in good spirits. And sometimes you might get someone who's like crazy, like, "Where's my name in the credits?" Because I think it should be above this person. Be like, please stop. Like, stop! Don't start doing this. Yeah. Sometimes you get to some, craziness in that, and then you get some people that are bashing it. But that's just going to come with it. Like, you just shake that right off. Like, you can't. I've always told people that, like, for whatever craft they're in, if they make some post on Facebook about like, all right, this is all my haters, and you're not an A-lister, you ain't going to make it. Because imagine if you're an A, you actually finally make it. You can't handle your locals. You ain't going to handle it on the big time, kid, Like, never let them know they got to you,
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If you can't handle your own city, forget it. Forget it, Like, toughen up. You either can handle this business or you can't. There's no in between.
Yeah, man. You've done a hell of a job. Seriously, man. Hat off to you and everybody helping you and everybody involved. Amazing job.
Thank you. Did you happen to see Totally Driven Radio was thanked in the credits if you paid attention towards the end?
Really?
Yeah, I had a big thank you list of all the podcasts and everything on there, but you're in there. I don't forget people.
Oh, thank you. That's much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me back on.
Now, next time, can I be one of the callers and call in and like, somebody in my family's getting killed?
Yeah, we'll see about it. I'm sure you saw your boy Meanie in there doing it. So you get, as far as the Dark Military goes, you could see a sea of stuff of it on my website, averagesuperstarfilms.com. But straight up to watch the film, for all you streaming cats, you can see it on Prime Video, and if you want it on Blu-ray, averagesuperstarfilms.com, screenteamreleasing.com, diabotfilms.com, and even Amazon for the Blu-ray too. Like, you can go to Amazon and buy the Blu-ray there too.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yes. So, and for as far as the Blu-ray people, you got 4.5 hours with all the extras. There's a lot to it. Like a lot. Yeah, we got audio commentary, we got the music videos, tons of interviews, behind the scenes. And a lot of things happen in between. You know, it's not like just a picture with a menu. A lot of cool stuff happens on the Blu-ray. It's worth picking up.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, dude, congrats again to you. I'm proud of you. Seriously, man. Job well done.
Thank you much. And thank you for letting me be the lead-in, too, for a WWE Hall of Famer.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. D-Von Dudley.
What's up? Hey,
You're
I'm
live
good.
on the air. You're live on the air. And you can curse.
All right. No cursing, no profanity, my friend.
D-Von. Twice in 2 weeks now. We're reunited.
Yes. It's been some time, but, we're back, and, you might get a whole family reunion together. We can get everybody together. That'd be great.
You know what? People keep asking me. They're like, come on, we got to do this. We got to get this together.
Well, the one thing about it is convincing Uncle Vince to actually bring us in all together.
Now, I got to ask, working for Vince McMahon, first off, when you first went to work for Vince, how intimidating was that?
Well, he's very intimidating. I mean, Vince, created the WWE, and of course, former WWF name, where his father had it as Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and created a huge company in itself back in the 60s and 70s. Vince took it to another level, and I think I know he took it to where nobody expected pro wrestling to go. You've had so many great names in the wrestling business, and for Vince to take it to the level he did, the vision that he had, no one had ever seen that before. And
right.
So, to his testament, it was a risky decision to go ahead and to do the first WrestleMania. And because if the first WrestleMania would have bombed, that would have been it. There would have been no WWF. And,
sure.
It's definitely said by those who were there and was banking on WrestleMania to actually make it. So thank God that it did, because if it didn't, none of us would be here. And who would have known if ECW would have been around back then as well? The whole wrestling business in itself most likely would not have had the popularity that it has today, because, again, nobody ever thought about stepping outside of the territories or even grabbing talent from other organizations. It was unheard of. You didn't do it. It was forbidden. And so here it is with all this history, and you walk into this man's office, and he's sitting there. It's very intimidating because it's Vince McMahon. It's the creator at the time of the WWF and has made it to what it is. And, of course, so many childhood heroes in terms of Hulk Hogan and so many others, Roddy Piper, he was the mastermind behind all of that. So it was very intimidating, but yet at the same token, you felt a sense of accomplishment when you walked in the door, because you knew that you had officially arrived in pro wrestling once you made it there. We were all happy in ECW. Hell, some people even tell you back in WCW they were happy there. But everybody, in one way, shape, or form, always wanted to work for Vince McMahon.
Sure. Yeah. How about when you and Bubba walk out of the office after that initial meeting? Do you kind of turn to each other and be like, "Holy crap"? Are you blown away?
Well, I don't think it was holy crap. I think it was, damn, we're gonna be rich. I think that's what it was, because the money that they had offered us, and on top of our guarantee, the money that we made, really, was more money than we had ever seen. And, Bubba came from a very nice Italian family that had money. They had it the old school way. They built it from the ground up. And so Bubba wasn't, a stranger to money. And I mean that in a very good way, because, again, Bubba came from, what they like to call again, the old school money, the old Italian way, where again, you came from Italy and you made it to America and you built your empire to what it was today. And Bubba lives very, very good. Me, on the other hand, I grew up in the projects. My mother was pregnant at 15 and she had me at 16. And we struggled. My biological father wasn't in the picture. And so it was one of those things where we had to fight for everything that we had. My grandmother was the fist of the family that kept everything going. And so with that being said, when you walk out of a meeting with Vince McMahon and he's okayed the money that you agreed on, it's like, oh my God, I made it in my speech at the Hall of Fame. And my mother was sitting there and I said, you know what? We didn't grow up in the lack of luxury, but we struggled. We got through the projects. We made it. And we took a piece out of the pie and moved on up like the Jeffersons.
Nice. That's awesome. Now, did you guys think at either point, like in that very early meetings, because there was a bunch of the other guys that came out of ECW that went on to whether it was WCW or did WWF at the time. Did you guys think you might not get used right or might not get over with the fans?
No, and I don't think we did. Me and Bubba were always content on how we were as individuals in that ring and how we could perform. We always felt, and it's good to have this mentality, whether it's true or not, but it was always good to know that we felt nobody was better than us. We always felt that if you let us be us, we're going to make you push us. So there was never a doubt in our mind that we could go up there and really produce and show. Just give us the opportunity and we would. And we proved that. So whether they didn't want to, at some point we felt they were going to have to, because we knew exactly what we can do. We were able to master the things that we did from learning from other talent that came in the ECW doors that were there during the Andre and Hulk era, the Flair and Dusty era. You had Tommy Rich, Tommy Rogers. You had Ravishing Rick Rude that came through the doors. You had Bam Bam Bigelow. You had Jack Victory, Rod Price, Doc. You had, so many other guys that came through the doors that had been there and made money. And Terry Bam Bam Gordy. You had so many guys that we picked their brains. We were in ECW for 4.5, 5 years, and we did nothing but absorb all the knowledge from all of the people that had came before us and that had made money. And that was the thing. Yeah, we marked out. I can't say we didn't, because we did. But at the same token, once we got over that and once we got past that, we were able to take from the learning tree. Ravishing Rick Rude taught me so much about selling and things of that nature. Before the doors would open, we would have people at ringside as Rick was teaching. Bam Bam, being in the ring with him was incredible, and how he would, walk you through things and things like that. He would also let you know that if you ever tried him, he could take you out. And Bam Bam was not afraid to to express that. So that was one of the good things. And then, being in there with Tommy Rich, Tracy Smothers, like I said, Tommy Rogers, God rest his soul. All of those guys learned. We learned both. We learned the WWE way, and we learned the NWA. We learned it from both sides.
Yeah, that was, so many people when I do interviews and stuff like that, and they always ask me about the ECW stuff in the locker room and all that, and I always tell that exact thing. That was such an important it was literally going to school every time in that locker room, because you didn't know who would end up showing up or who was already going to be there. But I just remember sitting there amongst these people who grew up idolizing, wanting to be like, and here they are, and then you're able to sit, and everybody was really, in that locker room, was very open with all of us young guys, and they would sit and talk with us and let us ask questions, and they weren't, they didn't, Like they weren't like snobby to us or nothing like that. They treated us with respect and were willing to work with us and teach us and talk to us. And I was kind of shocked by that because I didn't really get that in many of the other locker rooms in the indie scene. And people probably didn't think you would get that in ECW, but you did.
Yeah, and although some of the guys, especially in the NWA, did not respect ECW because they didn't understand it and they thought we were too violent. We were the Nirvana of the wrestling world. Before Nirvana came around, they were, you had the hairbands, you had Motley Crue, you had Poison, you had Dio, you had Iron Maiden, who was not glamour, but again, that was heavy metal. You had that whole heavy metal generation that came in, and then all of a sudden, straight out of Seattle, Nevada, I can never say the name right. Nevada comes in and just destroys the whole business when it came to music, to metal and all of that, and rock. And it brought in a new generation. That was what ECW was. ECW was the people that brought in a new generation. We were tired of seeing the same old say your prayers and eat your vitamins. And listen, nothing against Hogan at all, but I think at that time the fans wanted something different, and ECW provided that. You had young, hungry people that were ready to give their bodies and to give everything they had, just to make sure that ECW was not going to be some third indie company that was here today and gone tomorrow. We were true rebels in its own word, and we were following the biggest rebel of them all, in Paul Heyman. And to be out there and to really say F you to the establishment, that was something huge because no one had ever done that before. No one ever brought tables, barbed wire, fire, thumbtacks. A lot of it was brought to the U.S. by Terry Funk and Cactus Jack, but bringing it to ECW and then letting us show the world what that type of life is in pro wrestling was all about. Coming from Japan, it was tremendous, And there was a shirt that we had that went out there, and it said ECW, politically incorrect and damn proud of it. And I think that really spoke the life of ECW and showed the people what we were really about. And I think from that point on, ECW was bound to be a household name.
Absolutely. Now, how about you? Like, when you were first coming in, when you were first approached to come in, like, what were your immediate thoughts about A, ECW, and B, like, the whole Dudley gimmick that they were going to bring in as part of it?
Well, first off, I was scared to death to come in because I had watched ECW when I was bouncing at the clubs, and I thought it was just barbaric. Again, I was one of those people that was so used to WWE and so used to the NWA that I did not see ECW making it because it was just so violent to me at the time. We had never seen anything like that, so I was pretty much scared to death. I do remember I had taken some time off. My twins were born. I had a little bit of a personal issue in my personal life that I was trying to get together. So I had given up on pro wrestling. I was not going to come back. I was going to quit. And I remember holding my twins in my hands one day, and I was bouncing them back and forth to get them to sleep. And I just remember they were quiet, and they were looking at me with their little pacifiers in their mouth. And from that point on, something happened in me. And I said, you know something? My biological father was not there. I can never say that I was influenced by a male figure that should have been, my father at the time. But I'm going to make you proud, and I'm going to stop the cycle where it begins. And that's exactly what I did. And I remember from that point on, I laid them to bed. And their mom, who I was married to at the time, I said to her, I'm going back to wrestling. And she said, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah. And at the time, I was working at the post office. I had a government job. I was very good. I had benefits and everything. So it was like, you're taking a chance on leaving a government job to go and do something that's a dream that might not even pan off. You're taking a huge risk, and you have a family.
Right.
And at that point, I just said, you know what? I've got to try it, because if I don't, I'll be kicking myself in the behind. And the thing about it was, again, the look that the twins gave me at the time, and they had to be about maybe 3 months old. I remember it just sparked something in me. I was trained by Johnny Rods, who also worked in the WWE for Vince's father. And I remember going back, and for about 5 or 6 months, he came out of his office one day, and he said, "Oh, my God." He goes, "What the hell happened to you?" He said, "Who put the rocket under your behind?" And I said, "Well, I'm not going to stop until I make it." And that was when he brought up the fact that he had trained Dreamer, he had trained Taz, and he said, "Do you know who they are?" And I said, "Yes," because when I got to Johnny's school, Taz and Dreamer had just left, so I had missed them. And so I literally just missed them. And he said to me, he says, "Do you know who they are?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And he says, "Good. Well, they work for ECW." And he goes, "Well, I can make a phone call, and maybe, you would want to go to ECW." Now, in my mind, I was like, "Oh, hell no," because they're crazy. But then the second part of me said, "Well, no one else is giving you a chance. Give it a shot." At that time, I didn't know the difference about TV and, what was big and what wasn't. All I know is I didn't know that they were on syndicate, like they were on public access, kind of. I just saw them on TV, and I said, "Oh, my God, they're on TV. This is great." And so with that being said, I just went to Johnny, and I said, yes. I said, make the phone call. Made the phone call, had the tryout at the dojo in ECW in Long Island that they had the school at the time, and the rest is history. The Dudleys were formed. When they told me about the Dudley gimmick, I really didn't care. I was excited that I was with an organization that, number one, that was on TV, and number two, I saw in the magazines here and there. So to me, ECW was big. ECW was big time. That's all I knew. So I didn't think anything of it when about the Dudley gimmick. I was just happy and said, yes, I'm happy to be here, happy to do it, and that was it. There was no, I'm going to be dressing in overalls and, with glasses with no lenses in it and all of that stuff. At that time, it was a gimmick, and, I knew it, and I was happy with it.
Dude, I had no idea you worked for the post office. That takes a lot of guts to give up a job like that.
Oh yeah, and I was doing good too. I was making very good money, and I got fired for being in ECW. They pretty much, they pretty much helped me in a sense to getting me everything that I had to get. So, it was very nerve-wracking.
Wow. I had no idea.
It was very, very, and well, not to mention, it was one of those things also that, I basically took a chance, and when I walked in there, I said, "Hey, yes, I needed weekends off." They said, "Nah, you can't have it. You have to be here for a long period of time." And I said, "Okay." And so every once in a while I was saying, "Hey, I got to take off. I'm not feeling well." And next thing you know, I came back and he said, "Well, you're fired." I went, "What?" And from that moment on, I had to do odd jobs, security work. And up until I found a really good job, believe it or not, working at Foot Locker. And it was great because Foot Locker, it had this baby store that was right next to it. Well, the baby store went out of business. And what they would do was they actually borrowed the baby store that was connected to the Foot Locker, and all that separated it was a gate. So they would be able to open the gate and close the gate. And I remember they put all these discounted shoes over there, and they said, "Hey, would you go over there and just keep an eye on that, please, and make sure everything is good?" And I said, "Yeah." I went over there, started taking inventory, things like that. Next thing you know, I came into work the next day. They said, "Guess what? That area is yours. That's where you're going to work." I was like, "All right, great." So I was basically my own boss. I did what I wanted to do. It was phenomenal. Not to mention my twin boys at the time now, who are about 4 and 5, they're wearing like name brand shoe Jordans, Nikes, and everything you can imagine. They were all the latest styles that came into Foot Locker, all the Nike gear and the Jordan stuff. I mean, they had it all, man, because I was getting it, something that would cost $100, I was getting it for $30 from the discounted price. So it was great, man. I was loving every bit of it. And it was one of the jobs that I had that I felt really bad that I had to quit, because I really enjoyed, believe it or not, working at Foot Locker. It was so much fun. And not to mention all the sneakers and stuff I was getting for like literally more than half off.
Who would have thought that? Like, people be excited to be leaving be upset by leaving Foot Locker.
Yeah, I was very upset. I remember telling the guy, well, listen, I remember calling him, I think 2 weeks after, and it was one of those weeks. I remember ECW, we worked, at the time, we worked Friday and Saturday. Before we went to full-time, we worked Friday and Saturday, just the weekends, and then we had like the last week of the month off. So I remember during that time, I was asking the guy, hey, I'll come back and work that week that I'm not working for the wrestling organization. And they were like, no, we can't do that because we need somebody full-time, not part-time. But then shortly right after, ECW went from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then it went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then we were working every week, not just 3 weeks out of the month. And that was when ECW just started to explode.
Crazy times, man. Now how about going back to working with Vince again? Like, how different is it now? Because now you're working behind the scenes as one of the production guys. Like, how different is it working with Vince in production compared to being one of the on-air talents?
Well, it's totally different because you're working for Vince's talent, and especially if you're a name, you want to be able to make your talent happy. And although you might not agree with the direction that Vince wants you to go to, you might butt heads, which talent does at times. But at the same token, you want the talent to be happy, and you need Vince to be happy as well, so you have to come to that happy medium. Well, when you work behind the scenes with Vince and you got that idea and you want to bring forward to make the story happy, Vince just goes, if he likes it, okay, great, we'll use it. But if he doesn't, no. There is no negotiating. It's what he wants, and that's it. There's no bargaining chip, which is good. I mean, listen, I think one of the things with WCW that hurt WCW was that there was too many chefs in the kitchen. The minute Eric, I think the minute Eric went into the NWO itself, I think that's when it started getting watered down. And I mean that in the most respectful way, because I think it took the emphasis off of him being the boss, and now it's one of the boys, and you can't do that. You're gonna be, listen. There's gonna be days they love you, and there's gonna be days they hate you. That's just part of the business when you're the boss and you're taking that type of leadership. We somewhat feel it as producers when we're on the live events, because we're the boss at the live events. We're running the shows. And so it's different when you're at TV because Vince is there. Hunter is there. So, if talent has a disagreement with something, they can go to Vince at TV. But when you're on the live events, it's myself and another producer that has to be the yes or no person. And sometimes if it does get a little bit out of control, and what I mean by out of control is that sometimes if myself or the other producer is butting heads with talent in terms of the direction where they should go that night, we get on the phone and we make phone calls, and then it's straightened out, and then we're good to go.
Wow. Now, what's a more stressful day for you guys? Is doing Raw or SmackDown or a pay-per-view more stressful?
I think everybody says Raw is the most stressful time. For some reason, it's always been like this. Even when me and Bubba were talent, SmackDown always seemed the laid-back show. It was never stressful at all. I don't know why. No one could ever explain why. But it was just never the stressful show. Raw, on the other hand, yes, has nothing to do with because it's a 3-hour show. Because if SmackDown went to 3 hours, I think SmackDown would still be laid back. I don't know why. It just seems like Raw was always the one that, it was very stressful. By the time you were done, you were so drained, but then you had SmackDown, but it was a lot easier. I don't know why. Even as a producer, you feel that way.
Now how about, I think it was today, the big news was coming out about Heyman and Bischoff being put on for the Raw on SmackDown. What were your thoughts on that?
Nothing. I mean, you've got two great minds working behind the scenes now. Vince is going to hire the best, that's going to come in and help bring this product and shoot it right back in the arm again, and I think it's a great addition to it. Paul Heyman doing what he did. Paul just needed a break, and Bischoff just needed a break. I think with these two minds coming back into the business again, and then with Vince, and then you got Hunter, and then you got some of the writers, I think you're going to see now a different Raw, because now you got so many great ideas that's going to come to pass. You got all these minds together. I think that's what we needed in the first place, Producers are there to give input and things of that nature, yes, but then you have the main writers. And I remember, when I first learned about this, there was Vince, Pat Patterson, Bruce Pritchard. That's all.
Okay.
That's all it was during the Attitude Era. That's all it was. And they basically sat down, right after, and they sat down and they wrote the show and they put their minds together, and sometimes they didn't go to sleep. Bruce Pritchard will tell you about that in some of his podcast stuff that he does. And then, when you sit and think about, how they did things back then, and Patterson will tell you too, that was just the way it was, and whatever main writer at the time that was there. I think Russo was one, and then Russo left, and then Brian Gerkowitz, I think his name was, he filled that role, So it was so many different things and elements that added to that. But now, it's like this all over again. Now you have Bischoff, now you have Heyman, and you got Pritchard, and you got Jeff Jarrett. So,
right.
It's great again. So all these minds coming together, sitting down around the table, talking about the show, how they're going to write it and make it better. Here you go again. So, let's do the Attitude. Everybody wants to talk about ECW 2.2. Well, let's talk about the Attitude Era 2.2. Maybe you'll see that now coming back to come. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. It's very interesting. I'm very interested in seeing how this works.
Now, was this something that you always wanted to get in? Like, were you looking forward to the next phase of your life in wrestling, going behind the scenes?
No.
We're not expecting to do this at all?
No.
Really?
No, I was kind of forced into it in a sense. I always thought I saw myself at the Performance Center, never at the thrown right to the wolves. Bubba and I, we were supposed to sign. Bubba and I signed for a year when we came back in 2015. So it was up in 2016 of August. They came to us with a contract and they were going to renew it. And Bubba felt that the Dudley boys had done all they can do, and didn't think we can do any more. Bubba had intentions on doing his Bully Ray character. So he wanted to branch away from the Dudleys and do that. Well, the WWE did not want that. They wanted both of us together. They didn't want Bubba singles. They didn't want me singles. And Bubba was really trying to do it that way. And so, it was one of those things where, there was a fight with the company to try to get us to sign because they really wanted us together. And again, Bubba felt that, the Dudley boys were done. I was good either way, whether we were going to stay together or be separate. I was good either way. I didn't care. All I wanted to do was stay with the company that I fought so hard to come back to. Right. And I knew my role. Our role was to come there and to help get the younger talent over and pass the torch. So a lot of people were talking about they were very upset about we didn't win a 10th title reign and they did us wrong and this and that. No. The bottom line is before we signed that contract and came back, we knew what our role was. And our role was to help get the younger talent over. So whether we won the title or not, it really didn't matter. And some people say, oh, well, you deserve to run with that title, this and that. Yeah, it's a title that holds a lot of value, but at the same token, we've had it. At that time, we've had 24 title reigns. So what was one more going to do? Well, it would have been great to have that one more run with it. Okay, and then what? We would have had to drop it at one point, and then where do we go? I think it would have always been intriguing to have the Dudleys keep chasing the title, and then never win it. And then finally, when me and Bubba said, okay, enough's enough, we're going to do it. We're going to do 3 more months or 5 more months, and that's it. Okay, give us the titles and then have us drop it. You know, we didn't need a long title reign. The Dudleys never needed the titles, and we proved that. We only won the titles to drop them to a tag team to make them, and that's just what we did. That's how we were, but yet we were voted as the greatest tag team in the history of this business. And again, not taken away from anybody that's ever come before us. So for people to actually see that and think that, you know, we were not used right in any way, shape, or form, I got to tell them they're wrong, because we were, you know. And I understand Bubba had, you know, he wanted to do the Bully Ray character in WWE, and he didn't get the opportunity. So he left and went his way, and I stayed. And again, I offered my services to continue to go in the ring. I didn't retire on my own. So I was kind of forced. It was one of those things where they said, D-Von, you know, we're going to offer you the producer's role. And I said, well, I'm not ready to retire yet. I said, I would love to continue and maybe tag with one of the other guys that need help. Well, no, they want you as a producer and this and that. I said, do I have a choice? And they said, no, not really. And I said, okay. And so I tried it out, and, you know, we're here today. So, you know, when one door closes, another one opens. You know, I'm very happy to be in this predicament, and I'm very happy for Vince for giving me the opportunity. Did I want one more year before I hung the boots up? Absolutely, I did. But did I get put in a position that I can do this for another 15 to 20 years? Yes. So which one do you outweigh, the 1 year or the 20 year? You know, where you can make more money. You know, so the amount of money, I might have made big money with that 1 year, but think about the money I would have made in 20 years.
Right. Absolutely.
And you got to look at the overall picture. And I think a lot of fans today on social media, they don't get it. They don't understand it. You know, at the end of the day, yes, recognition and all of that feels good, but at the end of the day, recognition is not going to pay your bills. Recognition is not going to keep you in your house and pay your mortgage. When those lights come off, oh man, D-Von, I'm so sorry for you. I ain't got no money for you. You know, so I'd rather listen to my gut instinct and tells me. It's not that I sold out. It's that I did right for my family.
And I didn't realize you got young kids still.
Yes. Yeah, I got young kids still, and still having them, and I'm loving every bit of it.
Look at you. Now your sons, Terrence and Terrell, the twins. Now they're making moves, man. So I got to ask, because people would always come to me like, you know, going through the time and the scene back in the 90s and early 2000s when I was involved with the scene around here. They'd be like, oh, you know, my kid wants to get in wrestling. I'd be like, nope, don't do it. Nope, don't do it. Like I was like, you don't want them going into this business. So I ask you, like, when your kids came to you when they were really starting to be serious about wanting to get in the wrestling business, was you very supportive of it, or were you kind of like hesitant, like, oh, I don't know?
No, I was very negative. I didn't want them to do it. You know, they got corporate jobs and they're doing extremely well with their jobs, and I wanted them to stay in that. But I can't force them to do that. You know, it's one of those things where once you turn 18, you're going to do what you want to do regardless. You always use the thing where you're in my house, so you do what I say. Yes, but is that really cool to do? You know, because then he leaves your house, something happens, and he learns the wrong way, then what?
Right.
When your son gets hurt, then you're going to wish you did. So, you know, it's kind of like they're going to have to learn for themselves whether they continue it and be successful, or You know, they try it and it doesn't work out, and then they go and do their own thing.
Right on. Interesting. So, a couple more questions, and I'll let you go. I know it's your day off. The girls in the business are exploding.
Yes, and I'm very happy to be a part of, you know, the company when this is happening. This women's revolution is really, really taking off. I'm very happy for it. You have women that can really go. Listen, I'm not knocking the Attitude Era. I'm not knocking the Bret and Sharon era or the Hogan and Andre era with the women. They were great women. They helped set the stage for today's women, especially the Attitude Era. No question about it. But at the same token, these women nowadays, they can go. Yeah. And they are more exciting than the men sometimes. You know, they are, you know, I can't say balls to the wall, but they are just ready to go. And they are basically tearing it up. I am so proud of the women in the WWE that, you know, before when you would see women's wrestling, you would think, oh, my God, they're exposing the business. Why do they put them out there? Well, they put them out there for TNA. I know, but that's so bad. And it was like, well, you know, they produce ratings because guys, you know, who live in their grandmother's basement are basically whacking off and doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, and they should really concentrate on the fact that these women are really trying to go out there and make a name for themselves. And back then, that's what it was. But nowadays, I don't think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think men still look at them like, you know, sex objects or what have you, but you can't deny how athletic these women are today,
oh, yeah.
and that these women are going. And there's got to be a little of me that wants to think that even though you got Alexa Bliss, you got Charlotte, you got Sasha, you got Bayley, you got all of these women, you got Mandy Rose and Sonya and all of them that are out there that are hot as balls, you cannot tell me for a minute when you're watching them wrestling, you don't forget that they're, you know, hot-looking women, that these women are very athletic and they're going at it, and they're now getting the proper respect that they deserve. And I'm so proud of today's women. They are tearing it up the charts, and they are doing a phenomenal job.
That's awesome. They are. They really are. It's really mind-blowing watching them now. Wow. They are going, and I love it. The reins are off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, a couple quick questions. Looking back over your career, what match do you think is the match that truly defined the Dudleys?
TLC.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's no doubt. TLC. That's the match that people talk about the most. I don't get any other match in our career that is talked about, not even in ECW, believe it or not. They talk about the TLC matches with the Hardys, Edge, and Christian. I think the people, you know, would love to see that. You know, if Edge and Christian could still go, you know, Edge with his neck and Christian with a concussion, it's hard. They wouldn't be able to do it. But if they didn't have those elements, you know, ailing them, you know, with Jeff still and Matt still going, I can still go, Bubba's still going. You know, if we were able to do that again, I think we would sell out a pay-per-view as a main event just in ourselves, because the people are dying to see that. And, yes, you've got a lot of guys out here who are doing TLC matches now that are tearing the roof off and doing things that we can only dream of. But I think it was because of the storytelling we told in those matches. That's what really made us stand out and to this day made people remember. Because, man, I look back at it now, and it wasn't what we did in there with the tables, ladders, and chairs. It was the stories that we told with them. And then how we brought in Spike, we brought in Rhino, you know, we brought in and Lita. We brought in all of these guys and girls into the mix as well, and still told a great story. WrestleMania 17, if you have not seen it or you just heard about it, watch it. Let me know what you think.
Who have you worked that pushed you the hardest in the ring?
Again, the Hardys, Edge, and Christian.
Wow.
You know, we had a point to prove. You know, we've had great matches with APA. We had great matches with Too Cool. We had great matches with La Resistance. We had great matches with DX. You know, we had all these great matches. Balls Mahoney, you know, Masato Tanaka, all of them, Spike. And, you know, we had all these great matches, New Jack and Mustafa. But it was the Hardys and Edge and Christian that pushed us to the limit, because we always knew that every time we got in that ring, we were making history at one point. Then we knew we had to keep improving it. So every time we got in there, we were trying to outdo the last match. It wasn't that we were trying to outdo each other. We were trying to outdo the last match, and I think we did it every time we stepped in the ring. You know, with ECW being as popular and people still talk about it to this day, Vince will probably, you know, get a bug up his ass and want to probably get us all together, and we could have it one more time.